Hey, Perry Peacock here with Wilderness Innovation. Want to talk a little bit about some cold weather winter type fire building skills. Now as we get more into the season here, into the winter time, we're going to get more and more snow on the ground. Regardless, the ground area here, the snow, has a couple of factors. One is it's cold. Number two, there is moisture. Regardless, there is moisture there, there is cold there. Starting a fire, you got to have three things. You got to have fuel, you've got to have heat, and you've got to have oxygen. So the dampness has got to be evaporated off, as well as we've got to overcome the heat deficit because of the cold. So what I want to show you today is something that helps to get away from the dampness and the cold, and also helps to get away from the windiness factor. So let's take a look at what we can do here. Alright, so I've taken a few minutes and gone out and gathered up some twigs and that sort of thing. I'm just looking for just a bunch of dead stuff. These longer things if I can get them. And some parts of the country, other places around here too, you may have stuff that's a lot more willowy and just thin and willowy. Most of what's around here in this particular area is oak brush, which is very gnarly and twisted up and all that sort of thing. But what we're going to do is we want to put together what we call a twig bundle, and that's what we're actually going to start on fire here. I've come over onto a spot here where this part of the hill gets the evening sun, and this grass is standing here. The sun hits it from about noon on till sundown, and it helps to, since it's standing, it helps to dry it out really nice. So I'm going to use some of this and mingle that in with some of the twigs I've got, and we're going to make us a nice bundle that we can use for fire starting. I know sometimes this grass can be a little tough to pull, so if you got your good sharp knife like this more I've got here, come in here and get down in here and just kind of harvest some good stalks. And it might seem like I'm gathering quite a bit, and we want to use that formula P equals plenty. And the worse your conditions, the colder your conditions are, and the worse that they are, well, the bigger you want to start this thing out with. The idea, once you get it going, you've got it going, you want to be able to do it just one time and have everything you need and not have to worry about it. So while you're out gathering, gather more than you think you'll need, and we'll try to do it right the first time. Alright, now what I'll do now is I don't want to lay this stuff down into the snow, so I'm just going to put it over there in the top of some sage here. Now what I want to do here, since we're dealing with oak brush up here rather just willows and stuff, is I'm just going to kind of crunch this stuff down a little bit. It's so darn gnarly and everything. And this stuff that's kind of out here to the end, I'm just going to actually break that over my knee like that. That gives me a lot of material right there to work with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the good part of the grass I've got here, and I'm going to kind of break it too. I'm going to kind of break up the ends a little bit, so you have a little bit more kind of broken ends to work with. And then I'm just going to stick this down inside the middle of my little twig bundle here, and stick all this stuff kind of out around there. like this. Now if we're up along the creek or in some different woods, we'd have mostly a lot of willowy growth, which is not the case here. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this grass here and I don't really, here again, if you have something kind of willowy, you can work with it, but we don't here. So I'm just kind of forming this into a little bit of a kind of a rope, and just going to kind of twist this right here and bring this through here. And there, now I've kind of got a knot in there, so I can kind of hold all this stuff together. So in essence, what we're going to have here is kind of like a torch. So we kind of have this little bundle that's kind of together here, and that's where I'm going to start my fire, right up in there. Okay, so now I've got my bundle here, I've got my core. A lot of times you either want that to be, it just depends on your area, really fine twigs, or you can have some shredded bark, or in this case we got a core of some dried grass, and then the small twigs around that. And that's going to be our core to get started. Then the rest of this stuff will catch from that, and then we'll put that down into the fire. Oh, one other thing I could point out here. One of the advantages is now my fire starting bundle here, this twig bundle, is portable. I could go back in the trees, back up into a little, whatever place out of the way to start my fire if it's really windy or if it was kind of rainy or whatever. But this is portable, so I can start the fire wherever I need to and carry the fire to wherever my fire lay is at. Okay, so I'm going to use my done here. So now I've got my concentrator paper here. Now this is, if you don't have matches or a lighter, you want to use your magnesium, which is nice because it works all the time. I mean, you can actually you can actually do this in a way where you're not even touching the ground or getting close to the damp ground or anything. And what you want to do, you need about 5 scrapes of magnesium or so. I got plenty here. Okay, that magnesium's right down on the bottom of there, and I just want to shake it together so it's all in one little pile right there. Those little shavings, you can actually stick it into the bundle and strike it off that way, that's what I'm going to do here. Just going to tuck it right. I tucked it right down into that bundle there. And now I can start it without even, I can start this without even being down on the ground now, which is one of the pluses here. Okay, you see that started like that? Okay, now we hold that up like that. We want to get that flame all up through there. Now here's the nice thing about this bundle. The wind's not going to blow it out, it's only going to help it. So now let's take this over here and get it into the fire. Now you notice we can just walk with this thing wherever we need to go. And now we'll position it here, get all this going, and then pull our other stuff up over here. There we go. Now we've got us a nice blaze going here. You know, I can throw the rest of my wood onto here. I can have myself a nice fire. You see how nice that was? Let's say, for example, you need to start your fire inside, you know, you might have to start your fire inside a lean-to or something, sheltered from the elements. Well, you can see with that little twig bundle, you could start that inside of there. Yeah, and once it catches, just bring it outside and then put it on your fire. You know, if you got a situation where there's, you know, where it's too windy, maybe out of the fire to kind of get that going. That makes it very easy to get your fire started. And then carry the fire. It makes kind of a torch is what you're doing. Basically, your twig bundle's a torch. You start it wherever it's handy to do. And if our conditions are really rough, I might want my twig bundle to be twice or 3 times or more that size. Because you saw how fast that thing went. When that twig bundle gets started, you've got all that fine stuff, twigs and everything all compacted together, and when it starts, it just really fires off and takes off well. The main points I wanted to make was we're able to start that twig bundle up off the ground. Like I said, I've started on a rock before, on a big stump or a log or whatever. So you're kind of like, if conditions are damp, you're kind of up off of that. And once you get that going, if conditions are tough, you make that bundle big, and then you get over to your fire lay once that thing's going, and you got enough heat there that you can get your regular fire going. And so that kind of controls your situation. So you can get out of the wind or the elements, you can get up off the cold, damp ground, you can start the fire in a lot more convenient condition. I've even started it before, setting the thing on my lap, struck it off once it flames, grab it, you know. I mean, it gives you a lot more flexibility than having to get right down into your fire lay every time you want to fire. You know, you've probably seen a lot of people, they're down on their hands and knees down into there. With that, you don't really have to. You get your fire started where it's convenient. I've done it before on a fallen log where it was about chest high. I'm standing right there. It's, you don't even have to bend over. Get the thing going. Once it's going, I shove it in here just like I did right here today. Get my regular fire going. I'm good to go. So this is Perry Peacock with Wilderness Innovation with your fire starting tip using a twig bundle. And have a great day. And if you think about the 3 things you got to have for fire, you got to have fuel, you got to have heat, and ridiculous.